Hello everyone and welcome back to part number 2 of the Nemesis 3 preview today with the 6th Infantry Division, the new Reserve Alaskan division of the US Army. And as you just saw there, they have some really cool new units in there as well, which will make a lot of US players happy, as the Marines and the Navy with the Navy SEALs have arrived. And we start in the logistics tab, as always, in these previews, where we have a couple of cool units as well. We have an M108 COCV supply that was a 9th already, with only 300 supplies as a cheap supply unit, an M35, a UE supply here, a couple of CV units, including UE CVs with 3 availability and Humvees, and then a new unit here with the CH-54 Tari supply helicopter with the big container box in the middle that gives you 1,500 supply and has 8 hit points, so it's a pretty efficient supply helicopter here, coming along, 4 availability for the classic 6,000 in general. But yeah, a really nice supply helicopter here, bringing the big container with it. And then we have the field supply point as well. Infantry tab is one of the strong points of this division, as it has a lot of choices and a good couple of new units here as well. We have the known classic MGs here, 7.6 as National Guard, as there's a good National Guard compartment to this division. Some normal M60s. We have the AA 50 cal, that is new, but it's at a helicopter range is pretty limited, so not a big fan of this unit, paying the extra 5 points for the forward deploy. And we have an M19 40mm grenade launcher as well, which I would rather recommend over the 50 cal here, as the anti-helicopter range is not really useful, as if it would be a bit higher, then it really could play a role, but with only 1,225, it doesn't really help out that much that it has this capability. Fireteam leaders coming around next, and they are pretty standard. We have them in 24th and in 3rd US. There we have them with Bradleys though, and here the small fireteams come in fast transport instead. We have the standard COCV, and we have a COCV with a M60 mount on the rear as an option here for the leader. If you want to have a cheap 15-point MG, it's only 4 hit points, no armor, so it's not great at surviving, but it's a bit of extra firepower for cheap. Even cheaper than the truck, but it can't be sold. You have smoke grenades and so on, so this leader in general for 35 points is okay. 3 hit points, not great, but gets the job done. 3 availability is nice here as well. Fireteam law, we know as well, but the special thing here is that it can come in the COCV with the M60, or for 10 points more, with an AGL on the rear. And that is the really interesting one here, giving you some fire support here with an AGL on the rear. So this one, for sure, some nice light vehicle fire support coming in here. Fireteam Dragon coming in with the Dragon, and the same 2 options for the COCV transports, so you can get a good couple of these AGLs as fire support around. They die really quickly, so you have to be careful. If the enemy has IFVs, you're most likely not gonna have these guys for long, but if you get them in the right spot as infantry fire support, they can do a good job. And if you get enough of them, they can even bully some vehicles maybe in the right spot. Engineers, leaders, a lot of hit points, 70 points, no smoke, no AT, and only 2 availability. Not amazing. If it would be a bit cheaper, maybe it might be worthwhile. And then the classic engineers that we have seen plenty of times. Same with the Flash, the classic 5 hit point plus Flash shock engineers here. Kind of wish they would have given us a different kind of Flash unit here with a bit more hit point, maybe double Flash or so. But this is what we get here, the classic engineers going around. Tank Hunters coming in next. Double 84, the first American unit like that. We have seen them in other nations with the Apilas and so on. The East Germans having, the Polish having some. Here it's double 84. Not the best AT weapon, as it has only 675 meter range and 17 pen. But when you hit twice with it, it stuns basically everything. And it also can kill most things with this amount of firepower. Kind of wish they would get 6 ammo as the dedicated tank hunter, but that's for other tank hunter units as well. In general, still a pretty helpful unit if you need that capability, though. Then we have the National Guard leaders that come with a lot of National Guard MOR-13s, including MOR-13 National Guard with the Dragon that is new to this division. Yeah, we have the MOR-13 with Dragon though before, and it's not great with only 1,250 meter range, but it gives them some AT capabilities, and at least it has the 50 cal and the Dragon. Yeah, here you only get the 50 cal for 5 points more. It might be worthwhile. The National Guard rifles get the same transports as well, so if you want, you can get a couple more boxes with these guys here as well. Outside of that, classic 9-man team with a law, 2 MGs, 40 points, 9 hit points. Pretty standard American unit. Not great, not terrible. And then we have National Guards with an M40 on a truck here, or on a Jeep. And 40 points for that. I'm not sure I really want that. The 17 penetration on the M40 is nice, but its HE with the lower rate of fire is not great. Its accuracy with the Reservist goes down really low, and paying 40 points for that is not amazing. The air transportability doesn't really play a role. It's relatively slow off-road as well for a Jeep, so in general, I wouldn't take this unit. You get your classic National Guard M40A1, good ammo and decent on defense, but yeah, with the lower accuracy and the higher aim time, lower rate of fire from the Reservist rate, I'm still not sure about this one either. Like, these units still get shot at quite a couple of times. Sure, against infantry they shouldn't, but against other units, like anything with an autocannon, they will get shot at, and then this goes down really, really quickly with the stress modifiers as well. So M40A1 National Guard, I'm not so big on. The Ito, not so. I think it's better with the discount, as you shouldn't get shot at with the 2,625 meter range. Good accuracy, good damage. Even with the Reservist rate, that's kind of okay. So that's your lighter ATGM, and then you have the TOW2 in 2 different variants. One is an Airborne variant, and then you have the TOW2A with the tandem round that can deal a bit of extra damage against TADBVs and everything else with ERA on top of it, as it deals extra damage there. So that's the same price. One you get forward deploy, one you get a bit of an extra trade against specific units. Though as this one comes with free veterancy, I would go for this one always. And if you need a second card, go for the TOW2A right afterwards. You could vet them, but then you go down to 2 availability, which is not great. And then we have US Air Force coming in here with ground units and military police units as well. And these are pretty cool. US Air Force Security Patrol, because they come with a Stinger on a 4-man unit. It's nothing like an SAS or similar units, but it's still an infantry unit with an Stinger, and the security and military police rate can come in pretty handy here in this division as well, as you have a decent amount of National Guard that you could use. So mixing these guys in with the National Guard Rifle Law, for example, could be nice, and having these extra hit points over a normal Stinger team can be nice for the survivability as well. They are submachine guns as well, so in CQC, if you bring a couple of these, they can actually deal a decent amount of damage, but as you pay for all the traits, price is not super efficient for combat usage here. You get a COCV military police unit as well for 20 points that can't be sold, and this one has the military police trait, but it's a 20-point unit, and then you have a 25-point unit that has the military police trait as well, so I would rather go with this. This one is quite nice. The Peacekeeper is a nice truck with an M60 on top. It has 85 kilometers off-road speed, so it is really quick and can really help out your reservist tanks that we will get to later to do their duty. and keeping that there close is quite nice. So a pretty solid combo here. And we have a similar nice military police unit here with the US Air Force Security, as this is a 13-man military police squadron, so really nice to push with your big National Guard rifles blob. And it has 3 MGs as well, 55 points. It's pretty comparable to what the Soviets got with those snipers in their military police unit. It has similar firepower, and it has more hit points, 55 points here, paying 5 points extra, but the 3 extra hit points are really nice as well. The 13-man infantry squadron is a really good brawler against other infantry, especially with this amount of light machine guns here. So, yeah, the M60E3 being a pretty good one as well. So, this should be pretty hot. I'm looking forward to using these guys with a big infantry blob here going around. And then we come to the next section, which is light rifles. And you get a couple of them. Light rifle leader, we already know. 6 hit points, smoke, law, pretty decent. Only 2 availability per card, so that's not great, but everything else is fine here. And then we have a new unit, the light rifles with the Viper, which is AT weapon that wasn't put into mass use with the US Army, but a good couple of them were produced, and this is where they went in the Warno timeline. And it's kind of a follow-up to the law, and it does exactly that. It's having slightly better accuracy and 1 more damage than the law, so it is better. But as you can see, the light rifles laws are more expensive because they have a sniper rifle, and so that's the trade-off there. You lose the sniper rifle, but you get a bit more AT, and you pay 5 points less. Cost efficiency-wise, I would say the light rifles Vipers are quite up there. But when you want to fight infantry, the light rifle law do it better. The light rifle RCL do it a lot better because they have the RCL that can give fire support against infantry and also damage a vehicle from time to time, but they pay 50 points extra. And they have 3 light machine guns here as well, so they can give that extra fire out there as well. And then light rifles 84, they are in between. So yeah, you have a 50, 55, 60, and 65 point light rifle unit with 2 cards for these 3, and the Viper only coming with 1 card here. So really a lot of choices in this infantry tab. It's maybe the deck with the most choices, but I'm not 100% sure there. And as we come then to the US Marine Corps security unit, which has the security trait, which as a Marine force has Resolute as well, similar to other Marines in other nations that we have seen before, and a shock trade as well. And it gets a smoke grenade, an 84, and a sniper rifle. That's a pretty nice loadout to push around. 7-man squad, not half bad either. And it can come in a Dragon 300. Fast, resolute, amphibious. Security trade is on this one as well. Only issue I have with this thing is that it doesn't have a 50 cal, but only an M60D on top, but that's still better than nothing. So, in general, I think this is kind of worthwhile going around. For 65 points, you get a slight light vehicle and a pretty good squad. And the smoke, if you want to use this with some National Guard rifles and some US Air Force security to just put a big push up and smoke and get into the close combat, where the 84 can be helpful as well if the enemy doesn't move its vehicle away, then this actually can really set up the forces. And in a big infantry heavy composition, I feel like this can play its role really nicely. And then we come to the forward deployment of this division, which are just classic Airborne. So this deck here really is flexible and can be played many ways. Airborne Dragons here coming along, all pretty nice. And yeah, Airborne Dragon here, pretty solid. Airborne at 65 points and Airborne Dragon at 75 points. Decent squads, 9 hit points, 2 machine guns, 2 light machine guns here on the Airborne Dragons. 84, pretty decent weapon as well. They don't have special forces, but they have shock. But when you want to have special forces, you just bring in the Navy SEALs, as they have it all. They have submachine guns and 4 light machine guns, so they deal insane damage at the 5 meter range and pushing closer. And this is really the weapon loadout that you want for a special forces unit. Even on 850 meter range with 4 light machine guns, they still perform really solid as a special forces unit. And in CQC, they are intense. The satchel charges helping out big time there as well. 84 hitting vehicles quite nicely, so they can't just be rushed there. And they have forward deployment as well. So the Navy SEALs really do what you expect from Navy SEALs. And they look pretty handsome here as well, with the bandana on top. Or just the classic band around the head, as you know from Charlie Sheen in one of the best movies ever. And yeah, Navy SEALs here really doing the job. So infantry tab, you get 2 cards there as well, so you can get up to 6 of them. So this infantry tab fills up pretty quickly. Artillery is one of the weaknesses of this division, though it still gets okay options here. The classic 81 and 107mm mortar of the US, and then you get an M101 howitzer that can come in a Tari transport, M119 that can come in the Tari transport, and the difference here is just the range, and with that the accuracy. The M119 is more accurate. The M101 has less range and less accuracy, but you pay 10 points difference there. So yeah, if you want to bring one of those, I still feel like you might want to bring the M101, but the unit that you actually want to bring most likely is the M198, as this one is a 155mm howitzer with decent rate of fire and decent range as well. So that thing just does what you want to do with howitzer. Damage output is quite solid as well. So if you want to use artillery, this is the card you for sure want to get first. And it's not really a deck where you want to spam artillery, so more cards, I'm not sure if you really want to take them. The tank tab is misleading here, because it's a full-on anti-tank tab here, with only anti-tank vehicles. But the ones you get are pretty fine. You get a cheap Ito with the National Guard Jeep here, which is doing a pretty solid job for its price point. You get a National Guard M109, only with Itos as well. 5 points more for more ammo, and yeah, just going around there. The ammo is mainly what you pay for, so I would go with the Ito on the Jeep usually, as that gets better stealth as well. And then you get the Humvee tow, which has the tow tube. No National Guard on this one, so this one does its job pretty well and gives you more tow twos, which you kind of need in a deck that doesn't have any normal tanks. So yeah, really important unit, and you get 3 cards here in this deck, so you can just fill out the cheap slots with that if you want to go like that. Though a couple of cheap ones I feel like are nice as well. Recon tab in this deck is another strong point. And we start with some forward deploy units with the Alaskan snipers, though these are Alaskan National Guard, so they get the Reservist trait. The Remington 700 sniper here, doing a decent job. Standard range for these sniper units. And you can bring them in a UE with forward deployed, so that's a bit cheeky there, Eugen, but on the sniper unit that's not super important. Alaskan scouts don't have the airborne forward deploy. They can come in a ACAFs though. These are National Guard ACAFs, 30 points here. Coming along, 4-man squadron, 420 points, no AT. It's an okay deal if you bring them in with ACAFs. You can get quite a couple, but the unit that I like more here is the Alaskan Cav Scout, as this brings an RCL to the deal. 45 points, still pretty cheap. You can get the ACAF or the normal M113A1 here as well. The ACAF for 30 points with good optics. And a 50 cal here is pretty interesting as well. No recoilless rifle on this one, but 3 MGs instead. As you can see, this loadout here is pretty intense. And yep, this could be an option as well. Outside of that, just bring them in a truck. With the RCL, they do the job. Normal scouts, the American ones, can come in Humvees with AGL or 50 cal, so that's a pretty nice option as well. And yeah, this one should lose the parachute, though it doesn't have the forward deployment. Then we go with Pathfinders, which do have the forward deployment. And yeah, Pathfinders here, Smoke Grenade and Law. It's an interesting unit. It's not amazing though. as the shock doesn't really matter for a 4-man squad. It won't win any fights, but having the smoke can be cheeky and can help out with other infantry pushes, can help out keeping them alive, so that's a decent option. Then you have the OH-58 Scout with very good optics and the minigun, not great. And then we have an interesting unit here with some recon tanks, National Guard M48s, and these M48s get better ammo as they're close to home, close to the production line. So they get 19 penetration on 1925 meter range. So they actually do a really good job here doing damage. And outside of that, they are not great. 10 frontal armor is okay. They are National Guards, so yes, they get better ammo, but they suffer in all the other aspects. From Reservist trait, you lose accuracy, you lose rate of fire, and so on. So the National Guards here having some problems with that, but you get 2 cards of 6, so you actually get some tanks, and the 19 pen helps making this thing somewhat competitive. The good optics obviously helping out on top as well, but for 80 points, yeah, it's an okay tank. It is not amazing, but it gets the job done. LRS, classic unit here, giving you some GSR units with another special force unit here, so that is a pretty good one as well, and really gets the job done, can come in Humvees as well. And then we have the OA-10A, which is a really interesting unit, as it's a recon plane with really good firepower, as it is on an A10, so this will open up your capabilities into some really nasty air openers. And yep, the OA-10A with Hydro rockets and the Avenger can really shred through ground units quite nicely. You don't get any air-to-air missiles, so if the enemy knows about your division, they most likely will start with some fighters, so you have to go for that. But if you bring in the mass air spam, this could be a nice one to do that with. Outside of that, it just is a nice ground attacker that gives you some self-spotting with it as well. So interesting unit, for sure will be helpful. AA tab, pretty standard. You get National Guard Stingers, normal Stingers, and Airborne Stingers. And then you get the VAS that can come with the Tari as well. And you get the Eyehawk, which is a bit too heavy for it. And yeah, Eyehawk here coming with the classic missiles, 2 cards of those. So if you want to go full on long range AA, you can do that. That is quite nice. But yeah, standard kind of air tap. The Eyehawk's really helping out here big time. Helicopters, you get 1 new Cobra here that has a minigun and a grenade launcher on the front, together with a good couple of Hydra rockets. So a nice infantry muncher if you get it close enough. But you also can just go with the normal AH here that has the 20mm gun that can also deal with light vehicles and has a bit more range. So if you want to go with the normal Cobras, you can do that as well. And there's a tow Cobra with 80 gems as well. So really all you need here from the Cobra department doing a decent job. And then we come to a really solid air tap, as you get a good couple of Corsairs here that all come with air-to-air missiles, 20 ECM, 10 hit points. Speed is pretty low, but they have air-to-air missiles here with AM9Ls that are decent. The HE bombs on this thing are pretty chunky. And then we have Corsairs with cluster that still have the Sidewinders, as these spots are for Sidewinders only. And 12 cluster bombs here, as the pylons are pretty big, so this thing annihilates tanks. A T with 4 Mavericks, that's pretty scary as well. The 20 ECM, 10 hit points here, all pretty nice. And then we have the A6E intruders with a lot of napalm. Not the biggest fan of this one. The seed one is okay. It brings 2 strikes to the battle. Strikes not the greatest seed, but 200 points only, so can be nice with the Corsair spam. But the real one is the EA6B Brawler, as this seed here only has 40 ECM. This one has 60. It has harm 8 seed missiles, which have great range, great accuracy, so these are really scary. And it brings electronic warfare capabilities on top of that. so it buffs all the ECM of the surrounding planes as well. So this is really what you want out of an electronic warfare anti-AA plane. The A6B Brawler is exactly what you would expect out of it. Doing a really, really good job here. And then you still get the classic A10 here with AT and M9Ms. And as a cherry on top, you get an F-15C Eagle with Sparrows and AM9Ms. So, yeah, the classic Eagle here that we have in a good amount of divisions now as well. The Sparrow version of it doing a decent job here as well. So, yeah, this deck is all about a really chunky infantry tab that gets a bit of extra fire support with the COCVs and with the M113s if you want to. And it gets a couple of decent tanks here that are not amazing, but at least getting you a bit of penetration and staying power. And you get good AA, good air, and a decent amount of other shenanigans with the recon tab, and especially the OA-10A here. So I think this division actually should play out pretty decently, and it really is a division for infantry lovers. I'm really looking forward to play it because I like divisions like this, though I just kind of wish it would have one better artillery option, but that's just me. So yeah, let me know down below what you think of it, and see you all in the next one.